Laura, we ready? Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our council work session for Monday, August 8th. We've got a couple of items on our agenda today. Food security and ARPA funds, Des Moines Area Religious Council, DMARC, and Meals on Wheels. So let's jump right into it. Who's going to speak first? Let's do DMARC.
Good morning, buddy.
Good morning.
I'm Matt Unger. I'm the CEO at DMARC, and I am going to be technologically advanced and make sure I can do this well. There we go. Going to cover a few things today. I will walk through an introduction to DMARC, talk a little bit about how we do the work that we do, some things that have happened since, before, and after the pandemic, and what we've been seeing lately, some of the stark numbers, and how we could really use this investment. So we are celebrating our 70th year this year, 70 years of meeting human needs in Greater Des Moines. A couple historical things that we've done in the past. DMARC was the driving force behind the creation of what became the Oak Ridge neighborhood. And along with the United Way, we also laid the groundwork for Hospice of Central Iowa, which of course has become the great thing that Every Step has developed into today. But for the last 45 years, really 46, this is our 46th year, our focus has been on our food pantry network. So looking at food insecurity kind of pre-pandemic, we were looking at 1 in 10 Iowans with 1 in 7 children struggling with hunger. We were really setting records every month in 2019 before the pandemic hit. You can kind of see the pre-pandemic numbers there for Polk County, almost 42,000 food insecure people estimated. Post-pandemic, it had dropped down a little bit. I should note that these numbers do lag a couple years just with catching up with data. But the main point here is that during the pandemic, we actually saw hunger sweep back a little bit for the first time in many, many years. I'd be remiss not to point out also sort of the numbers in the bottom right corner there that show the numbers of those folks that are eligible for programming and the numbers who are not. A full 38% of folks facing food insecurity ineligible for any sort of programming that is sponsored by the government. Want to play a quick video here to explain the emergency food system in Polk County. Be about 3.5 minutes.
Let's take a look at the emergency food system of Polk County, Iowa. Just to note, this does not include the important role that schools play in reducing hunger and food insecurity. We'll start in the center with people in need, those among us facing hunger and food insecurity. Next, let's look at who is providing food assistance to these people in Polk County. First up, the Des Moines Area Religious Council, or DMARC. DMARC's mission is working together to meet basic human needs for the greater Des Moines community. The biggest way they do that is through their food pantry network. The DMARC Food Pantry Network includes 14 partner food pantries and over 30 mobile food pantry locations. There are lots of other anti-hunger organizations in Polk County, too. Some of these include Eat Greater Des Moines, non-DMARC food pantries, meal sites, little free pantries, and more. Food Bank of Iowa serves 55 counties across Iowa, including Polk County. Finally, the government provides support through federal nutrition programs. Now let's see how all these organizations make sure people have their food needs met. DMARC operates a mobile food pantry at over 30 locations throughout Greater Des Moines. Together, with DMARC's 14 partner food pantries, this forms the DMARC Food Pantry Network. Some pantry partners provide additional services such as clothing closets, medical clinics, and rent and utility assistance programs. DMARC provides healthy food to its partner pantries free of charge and has a shared intake system. DMARC partner food pantries also obtain food from Food Bank of Iowa, from 0 cost to 16 cents per pound. DMARC covers this shared maintenance fee for food that meets its health guidelines, and pantries purchase other food with their own funds. Food Bank of Iowa also provides food to other Food Bank member organizations, such as food pantries that are outside of DMARC's network. Some anti-hunger organizations are not Food Bank members and do not receive support from the Food Bank of Iowa. Additionally, Food Bank of Iowa provides food direct to people in need through backpack programs, mobile food pantries, and other programs. Food Bank of Iowa receives food commodities from the government via USDA programs, primarily from the Emergency Food Assistance Program, or TFAP. The government also provides direct assistance to people in need through the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, formerly known as food stamps, and other nutrition programs like WIC, the Commodity Supplemental Food Program for Low-Income Seniors, and more. These federal nutrition programs deliver more than 19 times the amount of food assistance as private charitable sources, according to Bread for the World. As previously mentioned, there are many other anti-hunger organizations varying in size and scope that provide direct food aid to people in Polk County. DMARC and its partner pantries work with many of these anti-hunger organizations to share food and other resources as needed. Now let's look at who's helping to support this emergency food system in Polk County. Individuals, businesses, producers, manufacturers, distributors, congregations, foundations, organizations, groups, and clubs all provide support. This support comes in the form of food drives, monetary gifts, volunteers, grants, food rescue, garden produce, in-kind donations, and more. DMARC, its partner food pantries, Food Bank of Iowa, and other anti-hunger organizations all receive different types of support from different sources. As you can see, support for all these entities is necessary to make sure the emergency food system can provide adequate food to people in need.
So you can see it's a pretty simple system. I say in jest. This map here outlines sort of where we are across the community. Those blue dots are our permanently placed pantries. The green dots are areas where we have mobile pantries. We've been able to take some of those that are on the south side, and we're going to be able to move those with the opening of the pantry in our new building. This is just showing you the number of partners that we work with on those permanently placed pantries that we are providing food for.
Excuse me, where is your new building going to be located?
It's at 100 Army Post Road.
Thank you.
So kind of how our network operates is it's built on 3 pillars. The first is providing a dignified experience as close to grocery shopping as we can make it. We also put a primer on providing healthy foods. The foods that we're purchasing, we're looking for low sodium, fruit that's canned in its own juice, healthy cereals, not sugared cereals. We're not trying to complicate any health issues that are already really expensive for folks with low incomes. And then we have a commitment to collecting some data. And we do that through an intake process that's uniform across all our pantries. It's a shared real-time database system, similar to what the community action programs use. And it allows us to better understand what our usage is looking like from a sort of flow perspective, but also understanding some of the issues that folks are facing. So we have a better handle on what the root causes are behind some of these issues, and we can go after solving the true problems behind why folks are facing food insecurity. One thing we get asked a lot about is IDs. We do request IDs. They're not required. It helps us to maintain data integrity. We get a lot of duplicates in our system, and having an ID where you can see someone's name and make sure that you have it correct in the system really helps us to eliminate some of that duplication. We'll take anything. It can be a piece of mail. It doesn't have to be a photo ID. And if someone does not have an ID, they still get food assistance. It's not a requirement.
Are there any restrictions to receiving food assistance at DMARC?
At the 14 permanently placed pantries for the TFAP foods that come from the federal government, you have to do a self-declaration that you are 185% of poverty or less. That's the only requirement.
Okay. But people can take other kinds of foods?
I'm sorry, can you say that?
Sorry, people can take other kinds of foods?
Yeah, so for those folks, they just wouldn't be able to have the TFAP foods.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So the way our pantries work, once per month, folks can come and get a 3 to 4 day supply of healthy foods for their family. We call those sort of the staple items. The picture there at the lower right shows what a household of 1 would get. So you can pretty much multiply that by the number of folks. And then we have additional items that are available anytime. So those things include food rescue items, things like the sandwiches you see in the picture that we get from some retailers, some of the food drive foods that we get, produce items with a shorter shelf life, and if someone wanted to, they could come every day and get those. We try to mirror kind of how our shopping is. You kind of make one shopping trip for your main staples, and then maybe you're running back and forth for a couple things here and there. Again, we're trying to be as close to grocery shopping as we can make it. We're a very collaborative organization. Just wanted to point out some of the partners that we've worked with, are working with, or are working on partnerships with. This, as you know, that sort of graphic showed with the system, this takes a lot of people to make this work, and a lot of collaboration is necessary to meet the needs of our community. We also have a strong commitment to equity. Again, no one's ever turned away, and all are welcome across our network. We have these "You Are Welcome" posters that are posted at each of our pantries. One thing the way our network is sort of set up is to ensure that no matter which DMARC pantry you go to, you can get the same things, so that folks don't feel like, well, I go to the Urbandale pantry because it's an Urbandale and it's nicer, and I'll make sure I get the things there. The things you can get in the Urbandale pantry, you can get in a Des Moines pantry, anywhere across the greater Des Moines area. The same things are available at all of our pantries. We've done a lot to try to educate ourselves as a staff too. We have a monthly meeting with another nonprofit that's working with some other group that we maybe don't know as much about, to try to better understand how we can provide assistance in the way that they need it, and with the kinds of things that they need. And of course, with the data that we collect, it allows us to show a whole lot about what we know across the sector, of folks that are in use of food pantries and in need of that assistance. We just recently released our portrait of a food pantry visitor, and we did a similar thing about racial disparities 2 years ago. We're going to try and maintain releasing that every year, sort of a review of our data of what we're seeing across the network as it relates to disparities across not just race, but gender, all factors that we can pull out of our data. And so I'm going to show some of the things that we're able to pull out of that, and it'll give you a better view into kind of who we assist and how we assist them. So overall, this past fiscal year, just under 44,000 folks. The number here that's kind of alarming is that 1 in 4 of them were new to the food pantry network, had never come before. The average household size, a little bit above 2. And you can see almost 19,000 households, 32% of which had never come before. You can see the race and ethnicity breakdown, age and gender. A whole third of who we provide assistance to are children, and roughly half are working age adults. You can see here what source of income with those working age adults, more than half of them are working at least part-time. The average number of visits to our network by someone receiving assistance is 3 to 4 times per year, and 53% only came once or twice, and you can see under 4% came every month. We've seen less and less people using SNAP, particularly since the additional benefits went away. I think it's partly there's a lot of red tape that you have to cut through, and some of the benefits folks are receiving with that are so low that they deem it not worth the red tape that they have to go through. And 95% under 200% of the federal poverty level.
Sorry, when you were on the demographics page with race and ethnicity and age and gender,
Yes.
was that all self-reported?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So looking specifically at Des Moines, you can see the breakdown of food pantry visitors there. Of those 43,000, 30,862 of them are Des Moines residents, roughly 14% of Des Moines' population. You can see the difference between the folks' backgrounds that are coming to the food pantry compared with our general population. There are some disparities there, as I don't think anyone would be surprised by. You can kind of see the zip code breakdowns there. 57% of all of our food pantry visitors came from 6 zip codes, and I think there wouldn't be a lot of great surprises there either. 50314, the largest concentration of food pantry use. Basically 1 in 4 people in that zip code are having to use a DMARC food pantry. So as I mentioned, the pandemic really shifted things. There was a lot of different assistance available that had never been available before or was available at a much higher rate than it had been previously. In calendar year 2020, we set an all-time record providing assistance to over 58,000 unique individuals. You can see what happened in 2021 with the dip, and that was directly correlating with all this additional assistance that was available. Folks had what they needed to get their food for themselves, particularly with SNAP being allocated at the maximum benefits during the pandemic, which ended on April 1st. And that was by far the single biggest impacting factor to our pantry visitor volume. You can see on this chart where the blue line and the orange line crisscross. The orange line is our food pantry assistance. The blue line is SNAP assistance. And it was coasting along there, at the same average assistance, and then the pandemic hit and it went up. And you can see how immediately the pantry usage dipped because folks had the money they needed to get their food in the grocery stores. All those peaks you see there are November. November is always the busiest month. I think we have a lot of extra expenses towards the end of the year, and folks are trying to have that big meal for Thanksgiving, and so the food costs are a little bit more, and so maybe they are spending on the meal for Thanksgiving and don't have as much for their regular meals. Keep this in mind here in a couple slides. So what we started predicting 6 months ago, and this was before inflation, that watch out for when this SNAP goes away because things are going to change drastically. Everyone was really paying close attention to food insecurity during the pandemic because in some of the really large urban areas in the country, you saw a huge swath of new folks that were coming in. We don't quite have the same population base as those, so we didn't get some of those crazy long lines as some of the other places. And with the additional assistance, folks were really able to take care of themselves. Where we knew it was going to get hard for the nonprofit sector that was trying to help these folks was once those benefits went away, and the data has bore that out. I want to mention too our move to Army Post because the timing of it, we really got lucky. We were maxed out at our previous site. You can see these pictures here. That's our warehouse. Really have to give a big thank you to both the city and the county who worked with us on the Scott Avenue warehouse that we were able to have. It was supplemental for us. Without that, we would have been lost months ago. But to have that extra place that we could store long hold foods was really helpful, but it was really inefficient for our operation because when something would run out, we would have to send a truck 3 miles away to pick it up and bring it back to our building. Our mobile pantries were all living in a fenced-in area. They needed to be loaded outdoors 365 days a year. We couldn't maximize our cash by buying in even larger quantities because we didn't have the storage space to put the larger quantities that we would purchase. You can see this is a layout of our new building, and I've put the Mulberry building and the Scott Avenue building inside of it so you get a sense on how much bigger we've gotten. And for fun is our original 36th Street warehouse over on the side. We went from that to Mulberry and then added Scott, and now with 100 Army Post Road, we feel like we're in a place where we won't ever have to move again. You can see in these pictures kind of what we're dealing with storage space now. It's really revolutionized things. We have 3 times the pallet space. We have 10 times the cold storage capacity, which is really huge because there's been truckload donations that we'd had to turn away before because we couldn't take a truckload of strawberries. We couldn't keep them cold. Now we could take multiple truckloads of cold stored items. Our mobiles are able to come inside, load, and park indoors. We were having to cool those in the summer throughout the day and heat them in the winter throughout the day because we don't take the food off. We just load it on. So in the overnight, you would have to make sure your food wasn't getting too hot or too cold. So we had to temperature control those 365 days a year. Now they're indoors in an already temperature controlled area. As I mentioned, we were able to move in the last week of March, which you'll see in a second could not have come at a better time. And we'll be opening the on-site pantry in September, which we're really excited and scared about. So here's what we've seen since April. The increases have been precipitous. April saw a 42% increase over the month prior, same year, month prior. And then it's just gone up since then. May was 60%, June was 63%, July was 73% increase over last July, and August is on the same pace. The first 5 days in August, we saw more than 5,000 folks, which just doesn't happen. You see the increases over the prior month there and how things are kind of moving there. But what's really critical here is this box on the bottom right, the first-time visitors. The way this is rising really has me nervous, just honestly with our ability to continue to meet the need. Those 4 months are equal to half of the prior fiscal year. So we've basically doubled our pace of new folks coming into the network. You can see the pantry volume. The blue is 2019 when we were breaking records. Orange and gray is the two years of the solid pandemic, and yellow has been this year. So we are almost right back to where we were, and things have gotten more complicated. We're fully expecting that this is just going to continue to grow and probably get worse. Yeah.
It says blue is 2019?
Correct.
So that's pre-pandemic?
Correct.
Okay. So we're approaching pre-pandemic levels.
That's correct. Here's that same snap chart and what's happened since things have changed. You can see we've crisscrossed right back over. That blue line will remain steady now. There was a modest increase that was made to SNAP, so folks who are getting the minimum went from getting $16 a month to getting a whole $20 a month. And this line is just going to continue to rise. What's scary about this line for us, I mentioned the November peaks, and you can see those all start around September. We're on a November peak right now that started in February, and it's not going to stop. I'm going to share some of our food costs and how those have gone through the roof. I've bolded some of the higher increases. This is what a household of 3 would get, and it would be our cost if we had to buy everything wholesale. Now, we are able to get roughly 30% of the food we get from the food bank, and we get that at the 0 to now 19 cents per pound. But I will tell you what we've been able to get from the food bank is getting less. They're struggling to get food as well. And what makes our network unique is that guarantee that we have the same items across the network. So what we do to make sure we can do that is purchase those items. And this is where our costs have risen 38% through August. So some other factors and things that are going on. Again, I mentioned the food bank offerings are down and they're having to raise their fees. We're going to be expanding the network with the pantry at Army Post. We've had folks coming in there asking about that pantry since we moved in. So we know it's going to be busy and it's going to be busy fast. When you look at that area, the busiest pantry is Bidwell, which is one of our network pantries. We're going to be relieving them a little bit, but then offering other hours when they aren't open. So we're trying to provide additional access for folks in this part of town because it's really a very strong need area. So we fully expect that pantry is going to become the second, third, fourth busiest in our network almost immediately. We intend, sadly, that we're going to break records this fall with what we see in November. And we fully think that calendar year 22 could exceed 20 and set another all-time record. So talking about how this funding could really help impact us. At today's cost, $300,000, we could provide some portion of some of these things. It wouldn't do all of these things, but some combination. It would provide monthly food assistance to over 11,000 households of 3. It would allow us to double up on what we're offering for produce, be able to source items like milk, eggs, and fresh meat, which are really hard to come by. Expand our inventory of culturally specific foods for our growing immigrant and refugee population. This is something we've been working on, but we have more to do there. And it also prevents us from having to limit what is available to those who need the assistance, because if we continue to explode like we are and food costs continue to explode like they have, we're not going to be able to maintain this. It's not sustainable. What we'll have to do is reduce what we're able to give out at a single time to be able to help as many folks as we can. But with funding like this, I believe that wouldn't have to happen. Some ways that we could leverage that investment, buying more at one time, which I mentioned before, we are now much better suited to do in our new building. When we have funds to spend on items we're not currently purchasing, we can usually work deals with those folks that if we purchase some, they will donate some. A great example of that would be Capital City Fruit, who we purchase most of our produce from, and they donate a whole lot while we're purchasing. So we might purchase 3 pallets and they'll donate a pallet to us. We can work deals like that with a lot of the vendors that we work with. We would like to see funding for us and Meals on Wheels. I think Meals on Wheels provides a service to seniors with prepared meals, which if those folks are able to get those meals, there's a partnership opportunity there with us and Meals on Wheels to provide some groceries along with it so that seniors then are having their needs met because it's the largest growing segment of people that are coming to the food pantry network. And until this year, we haven't had a significant financial investment from the city. There's been great partnerships there with space usage and that sort of thing. But with this, it would allow us to say we're partnered with the county, we're partnered with the city, private investors, corporations. It would really show to the community that everyone is working on this together. We all have skin in the game and that, you know, it's a serious problem that we all take seriously. With that, I would answer any questions any of you have.
Backpack Buddies program in the school.
So
Mark?
most of the backpack programs are born out of the food bank. There are a number of schools that just do them on their own. And so the food bank will provide the food for those. And then there's usually a group at the school that kind of administers it in the school.
Okay.
Can you explain the difference between the mobile pantry and Meals on Wheels?
So Meals on Wheels is, I don't want to speak for them specifically, but they're bringing sort of prepared meals for folks to eat. The mobile food pantry is literally a pantry on wheels. So it's like a small bodega that's been outfitted into a trailer that has shelving and refrigeration. And so folks come in and they shop it just like you would a pantry, except it's a little bit smaller, obviously. And the permanent pantries are definitely a better situation. But for those areas that we can't get a permanent pantry, it's a good solution.
So it's grocery versus prepared, essentially.
Correct.
Thank you.
I don't have a question, but just to thank you for what you do for our community, what you're moving into this spot that you guys all see a picture on. That is, I toured it before it was completed, but it was probably 3/4 when Carl and I went and toured it, and it's an amazing resource that we need on our side of town. And so thank you for what you do.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
It is quite a motivation to be able to be more efficient and offer, because I've seen people in the various mobile pantries, so having that opportunity is amazing. So unfortunately, we need more.
Yeah. It's scary, the trend that we're on.
Yeah. And I don't see any end in sight, very honestly.
Not with the cost going up.
No.
Thank you so much for your work in the presentation this morning. Unless anybody else has anything else, we'll move forward.
Thank you all.
All right, next up is Meals on Wheels.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to be here this morning. My name is Sophia Ahmad, and I'm pleased to serve as Vice President of Philanthropy at Wesley Life. And I'm here with our 3 Meals on Wheels tri-chairs. We have Supervisor Connolly, Chris Hensley, and Brad Anderson. And I'm also pleased to share that we have one of our Meals on Wheels drivers, Celeste Kelling, who will be here to share a little bit. And also from our team, Hans Hoxema. Thank you again, and thank you to DMARC. We appreciated hearing about your project. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Leslie. I'd like to begin by sharing just a brief overview on Meals on Wheels and our program. You heard a little bit from Matt. Wesley Life Community Services has operated Meals on Wheels for 15 years in the Sherman Hill neighborhood in Des Moines. Wesley Life Community Services is a separate 501c3 from Wesley Life, and it is overseen and governed by its own board of directors. At the heart of what we do is we deliver 1,000 hot, nutritious meals each weekday to vulnerable adults and veterans in central Iowa. You heard a little bit of the difference between our models. We are the only service in Central Iowa to deliver the meal and offer that personalized service. You'll hear a little bit more from Celeste later that there are individuals who are perhaps immobile who can't prepare their own meal, and so we're able to bring that meal into the home, unwrap it for them, and help it get it directly into their hands. We also are able to provide a well-being safety check for them, and you're going to hear some really compelling data and stories about how that literally saves lives of older adults and veterans in our community. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Supervisor Connolly, who will share a little bit more about our community impact.
Good morning, Council. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. First, I want to say congratulations to Matt. He did an excellent job. We've been partners with DMARC for several years, and with the city when we moved over to Scott Refrigeration. It was a huge success, and those mobile pantries, I think you mentioned them, they go out to those neighborhoods, and they really are helpful. I remember when we had to outfit them, we weren't sure how they were going to work out with those with that truck, but they really do work out very well, and I'm pleased that Matt is here asking for some additional dollars. The trend is not going in the right direction for sure, and I think we're going to see that for a number of years as we see an impact and the rental assistance and everything else that's happening in our community. So I'm here to talk about Meals on Wheels and the critical needs that we see. It's had a significant impact over the years, and we believe Meals on Wheels addresses food insecurity, as most of you know, and it provides nutritional needs and decreases financial burden by decreasing food costs for these folks. And I think the most important thing it also does is helps lessen that social isolation that I know Celeste is going to talk about and others. It supports living independently. I know for families, it's important for folks to know that their moms or their dads or their grandparents are living independently and they can provide that hot nutritional meal. You know, our senior centers provide that hot nutritional meal, but some of those folks are able to drive there or get there by paratransit. Others are secluded and cannot get out of the house. So this is really great, and those folks are able to have that watchful eye and check on them to those older adults, and a lot of veterans are there in those homes. So we think it's a great way for that spot check on those folks. And we have seen that over the years, since 2016, they've been keeping data. Some of those drivers have actually saved lives because some of those folks have been, you know, they know their folks when they check on them, that when they don't come to the door, something is wrong. So 3 to 7 folks a year have been saved lives because those drivers know, hey, go check on the tenant, something is wrong because they haven't answered their door to get their meal. And by gosh, something has happened to them and they've saved their lives because they know the Meals on Wheels driver hasn't been there or hasn't answered that door. So we know that's really important. And also we save on hospitalization, reduces Medicare costs. This is all really important to enhances wellness for the people. So Meals on Wheels is really important and critical part of our community. And speaking of community need, I think Brad's up next. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Council. Obviously, there's a lot of food insecurity going around, and so I'm going to go a little off script, so sorry about that, Hans. But one thing I think that makes Meals on Wheels very unique is the focus on the older population. And one thing that we all have to understand is Des Moines is getting older. Polk County is getting older. The state of Iowa is getting older. By 2034, for the first time in U.S. history, we will have more people over the age of 65 than under the age of 18. It looks like a chart like this from where we are currently. So the population is getting older, and it is getting older rapidly. So we need to figure out, how do we support this older population that is coming? How do governments support this older population? So Meals on Wheels is one way, of course, to do that. Now, there are 9,000 older adults who are currently food insecure. that number continues to grow. And 75% live at or below poverty level. Now, the other thing that I will share, and we're throwing a lot of statistics at you, there are a lot of numbers. I encourage you to visit the current Meals on Wheels facility. It is completely and totally inadequate. It was never built to be a commercial food kitchen. It is unsustainable as it is, and it certainly has no room to grow. So I got pictures the other day where they had to replace their floor because the grease trap wasn't working properly, and this was in January. And they have to do stuff like this every single year. So the question we have to ask ourselves is, as Meals on Wheels across the state of Iowa, some of them are unfortunately closing, and some are doing well. We happen to be one that is doing well. The question is, are we going to support Meals on Wheels moving forward? Because what we're proposing today is desperately needed because the current facility is inadequate. Lastly, I will say, and I want you to hear from Celeste, but the social isolation aspect of this is real. We learned during the pandemic the cost of social isolation and the impact it has on the older population. There are health risks to being socially isolated, and Meals on Wheels addresses that. That's the other thing. So we do food, and we do those wellness checks, both of which are very important. So thank you, and I think I'm turning it over to Chris.
Yep. Thank you very much. I just want to express thanks to Matt and Leslie, too, for DMARC, because I know that Meals on Wheels is happy to be partnering with them, and that's one of several partners we have on this project. So let's go to the next slide here. Meals on Wheels has really a visionary plan to deal with food insecurity and isolation, and you've heard some of the information already, but we are the recipient of a building that was generously donated by Susie Glazier Burt and Drake University. It's over at 3206 University. And so we have that building, and we're excited about the plans to begin the renovation to that building. The current building that we're in, as Brad indicated, has really significant issues. In fact, to the point where if we are not successful in moving forward with the new building, there's a high probability that they will not be able to continue the Meals on Wheels program. The new design in the building looks at two key components: a commercial kitchen, and the current kitchen will be expanded, or the new kitchen would be expanded by approximately 40% compared to what they currently have. And that new kitchen will allow them to add services, programming services significantly. It will bring a blast chiller in, it will have a grill, it will have expanded refrigeration, prep space, storage space. It'll actually have a dishwasher. Right now, the current kitchen, can you imagine serving 1,000 meals a day, not having a dishwasher? And it's not possible.
There's not a dishwasher in the current size?
No, there's no, it's a human being.
It's a 3-compartment sink that you're doing all the pots and pans out of?
I'm sure that we're doing it legally, Joe.
No, I'm just saying, that's great. I couldn't imagine doing something.
And we don't have a garbage disposal either.
Yeah, well, the dishwashers, I can't imagine doing that many meals.
So right now, the kitchen serves 1,000 meals a day. The plan with the expanded kitchen is it will serve 3,000 meals a day. And I say 3,000 meals a day. That is really a significant increase. So we're looking at serving over 700,000 meals on an annual basis. And moving on, then, the next important component of the building, remodel is the indoor vertical garden, a hydroponic garden. The plan is that garden will grow leafy vegetables, spinach, lettuce, and we anticipate that there will be approximately 10,000 pounds of leafy vegetable items that will be raised in the hydroponic garden. The plan then is to add peppers and tomatoes and some others, but that will be incorporated into the menu, so we'll have good nutritional meals for the individuals that we're serving. So I think it's something that is really significant. I know in talking with the staff, they've indicated that this would be a one-of-a-kind garden that is not any place else in Meals on Wheels programs throughout the country. So hopefully it'll become a template that would be used at other Meals on Wheels. So, Sophia?
When you're doing I know there's a restaurant component to this. Is the commercial kitchen, will that serve both the meals and the restaurant, or will the restaurant be separate from the commercial kitchen?
Thank you for the question, Josh. It's completely separate. It's not included in any of the fundraising that we're doing. It is completely separate from.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there will be a separate kitchen?
Yeah, that'll all be completely separate.
I have a question.
Sorry, I was just going to say who managed the restaurant? Are the Meals on Wheels, or is it leased out to somebody else?
It'll be leased out, but I don't know who that is.
Indira?
Yeah, where are you currently getting the veggies that you would be growing in the hydroponic garden?
Where are they? It'll be in the garden, which will be located in the basement.
Where are you currently getting the veg? Like, so you'd be growing leafy greens and things like that. I'm assuming that you're requiring those from somewhere else already, though.
We are, yes. That has to be purchased, so that will be a cost-saving item, but it'll also add to the nutrition of the meals.
Okay, thank you.
A quick question.
Uh-huh.
Is there some cooperative part of this with Drake? I can't remember from the earlier presentations.
There is a partnership with Drake University, and we're looking at an intergenerational hub that will be a part of this as well. And Drake University is working closely with us. Drake's long-term strategic plan is that they would focus on all generations within the community, and so that would be a part of it as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Chris. Well, as you might imagine, this visionary initiative comes with a high cost. Our total project costs exceed $10 million, and $8.25 million is being funded through this So Much More Than Meals community campaign. The campaign launched in January, and so far we've raised $5.6 million to this $8.25 million goal, and we're really pleased to have really great private and public support from individuals, corporations, and foundations and other entities. Major gifts have been received so far from, you heard Chris talk about Susie Glazerbert and Drake University. We really see that community collaboration as important and key to address food insecurity. We thank Polk County Board of Supervisors, AARP, Prairie Meadows, Principal Foundation, the Community Foundation of Greater Des Moines, Mid-American, Delta Dental, Kemin Industries, the Wellmark Foundation, as well as individual families such as the Kane, Lacey, Lords, and Riley and Ruan families. As you can tell, there is great enthusiasm and momentum for this project and this campaign. And this morning, you're hearing about two very compelling projects to address food insecurity in our community. We believe at Meals on Wheels at Wesley Life that both are very important, and we are very hopeful that the city of Des Moines would consider supporting both of these projects. And we would like to specifically invite the city of Des Moines to partner with Meals on Wheels on this important effort at the $600,000 level. We know our goal is large. However, as you have heard, our community need is very great. This is an investment for our future, we believe, an investment to help address food insecurity and social isolation among our community's most vulnerable, those who can't perhaps leave their home to be able to get a sustainable, nutritious meal every single day. And we sincerely invite that the city will consider supporting this at that $600,000 level. I'd echo what Brad said. We invite you to tour our facility. We invite you to participate with our team on a Meals on Wheels route. We will make it easy for you, we promise. It's very eye-opening and compelling, and it helps get a firsthand glance into some of the families and individuals that we serve. We say families too, because this is a service that impacts the entire family. When an older adult, a vulnerable adult is getting a food, a meal, that means that perhaps their adult child can stay in the workforce. That perhaps means that they're getting a wellness and a safety check. That perhaps means that they're able to live independently for a little bit while longer and preserve some of that dignity that they've worked their whole life to achieve. And so we see that community importance in there as well. And now I'd like to invite Celeste, one of our Meals on Wheels drivers, to share a few words. Thank you.
Good morning. Thanks for having us today and giving the opportunity to share our story with you. I first became aware of Meals on Wheels with my mother as a consumer. She had Alzheimer's, was in her 90s, no longer able to prepare meals, and so we signed her up for Meals on Wheels while I was working. And it was such a comfort to know someone was checking in on her midday, bringing her a hot, healthy lunch that she couldn't prepare for herself. Richard would come in every day, bring her lunch upstairs, and ask her, do you want to eat at the table today, Clarine, or do you want to eat in your chair? And if so, he'd bring her a little tray and set it on the chair and just visit with her for a couple minutes. And it was so comforting to me. She loved and looked forward to seeing him every day. When I retired, I decided I needed something else to do, so I started delivering lunches for Meals on Wheels myself. I deliver about 25 meals a day, and half of my folks are unable to prepare food for themselves. So it is so important that we take them the hot, nutritious meal that they can have, and they can eat right then. I want to share just two quick stories of my people. Margaret was 100 years old, lived in an apartment, not assisted living, not senior care, just an apartment by herself. And every day she'd bring her little walker and answer the door, and we'd go in and talk for a couple minutes. One day, it took her longer to get to the door. She just wasn't herself. And she had one living relative, a niece, who lived about an hour away. And so we called the niece and said, you know, you might want to come check on Margaret today. She's just not herself. And Margaret did end up in the hospital and unfortunately died a couple days later. But I just think had we not been there to notice that, she may have died alone, and it may have been days before anyone even knew she was gone. So it's such an important service. Another one of my customers, Dave, is 79. Think through this math. He makes $918 a month on Social Security. His rent is $750. So that tells you how much money he has in the month to buy food. Now, he can't get out to buy food on his own, so the hot, nutritious lunch is critical to him. And his living situation is such that I first started delivering to him, didn't have a bowl to heat a can of soup in. He has a microwave, but that's it. So the hot, nutritious meal is so important. And just recently, we gave him his lunch on Friday, and unbeknownst to us, he was out of food, snack food that he eats for the weekend, and no money to buy any. So when we went back on Monday, he was sitting hunched over, leaned against the counter, and he was too weak to move, and had been there, he said, since Friday night. Been calling for help, but no one came. So again, we called the ambulance. He ended up in the hospital, and he's making great progress now in skilled nursing, and hopefully will go back home and live on his own. But again, without us checking in on him and seeing if he's okay, he may have very well died there alone. We do have systems in place for if someone doesn't answer the door, we try to call. If they don't answer the call, we call their emergency contact. So it really is critical that we are checking on folks. It's not only the hot, nutritious meal, which is important, but that safety check midday. So it's such an important program. I'm a big supporter myself and just enjoy my job and hope you're able to help us out. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions?
I do. So this is Sherman Hill only.
Oh, no.
No.
Thank you for the question. To clarify, our current building is located in the Sherman Hill neighborhood now, and we'll be moving. The plan, hopefully, is to move to the building on University Avenue in the Drake neighborhood.
So are you serving all of Polk County, all of Des Moines, or?
Correct. Polk County and Dallas counties right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, not just a comment. I've had relatives that have used this service, and it's amazing to know that someone does check on them every day, and that's really important as much as getting a hot meal. And the reason that we have ARPA dollars is for services like this, and I'm happy to fulfill this. As far as me, I didn't know what the ask was from DMARC. Do we have a dollar amount?
It was the 300,000.
Is that what it was? Okay.
I noticed that as well. We have allocated $600,000 total to food insecurity.
Yeah, that's
believe.
At the moment.
At the moment.
that's obviously not enough. I mean, I would fulfill both of their wants and needs. I would be happy to vote for something like that. And I know we're not voting today, but I would support both of those for sure. I would actually probably even do more, but That's just me.
I would agree with you, Joe. I have a personal experience with Meals on Wheels. After the loss of one family member, my mother-in-law had Alzheimer's, and we used Meals on Wheels until we could get things figured out about, what was going to happen. And she wasn't safe to fix a meal. I mean, she couldn't even open a can of soup. And Meals on Wheels came in and served those meals. And it was just a lifesaver for us. It truly, truly was, until we could get her into an Alzheimer's unit. But it was very helpful, and it was assuring to us because we were both still working, my husband and I. And so it was hard for us to get away at lunchtime, to go and check on her or to fix her meal. And it was really great.
The child care, we haven't, there's a bucket for child care, I believe, Scott, that we haven't allocated or don't know if we even have partners for something like that. I would recommend that we would take the 300,000 out of that bucket and give it to D-Mark and use the rest of the 600,000 that we already have in there for food insecurities for Meals on Wheels. And we would put that on the agenda the next council meeting. This is something that our community needs. It's our job to take care of the elderly and the folks that are hurting. And if we don't do that, then we're not doing our jobs.
All right, Connie.
I just want clarification because this seems one's for the building and one's for more food. So in this project, am I correct? This is for the rebuilding. So what my concern is the timing. Because what if you don't raise all the money to get the building renovated? Just give me a timeline that if you don't get to your number, because you need 8.5 million. 8.5. So if you don't get to that, what do we do because of the timeline of ARPA money and all that? So
Thank you for that question. We are out every single day and are very committed to getting this goal. And that's why we feel like this ask is really important, because with the city of Des Moines in, that's helping us to secure other future support and donations. And also, in addition, we do have the building donated and secured. And so we want to make sure the city of Des Moines knows that every single dollar is going to put food in the hands of those who need it, of our older adults and veterans. So everything that the city of Des Moines would allocate to us would go to the commercial kitchen and the garden to make sure it's going directly to the food.
yeah, I have no problem. I'm just concerned on the timing. Because what if you don't get to, I mean, I know it's a good amount to help.
Yeah.
But if you don't get to and we have to have it expended by, I have no problem giving to all the food.
Right.
Any needs for the food, the kitchen, dishwasher, all that to get food to the people.
Yep.
It's more some of the other part of it.
Let me try to address that too. As one of the tri-chairs for the campaign, Angela, Brad, and I have been out, and our plan is that we start construction in October. There is no question that we're going to start.
Okay, that's why I just wanted to know the timing. When's it going to be done, everything? 'Cause
We have several significant requests out right now that we are very confident that we will reach our goal. In fact, we think we might reach it a little bit early.
I hope so. Yeah,
That's the plan right now.
When you see the $3 million more, there's a whole difference. Because I'm not very anxious about taking money out of the preschool and those opportunities yet. So until we can figure that out.
But let me just add, too, we started the campaign in January, and by the end of February, we had raised half of the $8 million. So I am confident with and the honorary chairs that we've not mentioned yet, I don't think, Janice Ruan and her family, and then Nixon, Virginia Lordson, they're the honorary chairs, and they're working with us as well.
I just wanted to make sure, because when you see the timing and everything, and you still, 600,000 is a nice amount, but it still doesn't get you two. So I just wanted to make sure.
Give us more to
Well, that's okay. I got little kids that.
And you won't stop until you have the funds raised, I assume.
Correct. That's correct.
Okay, so it's going to happen anyway. I wanted to make sure that clarity was out there.
I guess I had a question too about the funding. You're looking to raise the 8.25, so we'd be contributing to that 8.25? Okay. And I guess you're expressing so much confidence about being able to reach that goal. How much does the city donating a few $100,000 really contribute to that?
Thank you for that question. We see that as very important for us being able to get to that goal. As Chris and Angela alluded to, we are out and are confident with our calculations and the asks that we have out. But part of that is the City of Des Moines' commitment to this important project. And so that will be an important step for us to be able to reach that goal.
Are you hearing that without a city contribution, you're not going to get those donations?
With a city contribution, we're confident that we'll get there even faster, and we will work to get there as much as we need to be able to get there. But the City of Des Moines contribution is very, very vital for us to be able to get to our goal.
Do you have a timeline on, you said construction in October, do you have a timeline on when it would be open?
It's a very good question. We all know how construction timelines work. We're hoping to, again, have a groundbreaking in October in this fall, and then we assume that it'll take around 9 to 12 months. So by the end of 2023, the facility would be open and operationalized by then.
Thank you.
I want to thank you all for doing what you're doing for Meals on Wheels. I have some friends that do it, and they so enjoy actually the interactions with those people that they deliver the food to. I volunteered a number of times myself to do it, and at first I thought I was just going to deliver meals, and I would end up in sort of a social interaction, asking all kinds of questions and whatever, but you could just tell how it brightened up each of those individuals' days just to see somebody and talk to somebody. And of course I was somebody different, kind of assisting somebody like you, just sort of being there who does it regularly, and we'd get outside and both smile at each other that we help improve somebody's day. So thank you all for doing what you're doing. I think the Meals on Wheels program really helps a lot of people that have no other option. So Scott, any other follow-up?
Just that I'd ask council to reach out to me this week about your thoughts on this, because we will have the final allocations on the August 22nd council meeting for the rest of the ARPA funds. So please do make sure you share those comments with me over the next week. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
And unless anybody has anything else, we'll see you all this evening. This meeting's adjourned.
4:45.